Good morning, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. My name is Abby, and in today's video I'm going to tell you the plants that I will never be buying again. So these plants are plants that I've had, and I have this tendency of going through my Instagram and just appreciating the plants that I've had before and kind of being tempted to buy them again. But I think that's such a bad thing to do, because when I name these plants, there's very good reasons why I don't have them. Maybe I've sold them on, maybe they look better on photographs than they actually made me like happy in person. So I'm just going to name you a long list of plants that I've had and I will never be buying again, and almost a video to keep myself accountable as well. So the first one is a surprise. It's one that kind of came on my list kind of last minute when I was thinking about this. It's a philodendron red emerald. I had loads of these. I had 3 big plants. I propagated one because I really loved it and I really wanted, it was in a bad way, the one that I propagated, and I wanted loads of them. And then I think the act of propagating it and making loads kind of just overwhelmed me with the fact that I had so many, had such little space. My space started looking clustered and I was like, this was a bad mistake. And then I just really went off the plant, which is such a shame. But yeah, the plant didn't really do anything for me. However, I don't have a picture, but I'll see if she can take one, maybe not, I'm not sure. I propagated a couple of cuttings from the one I bought for my mother-in-law, and I left her a relatively small plant in Lithuania, and it's like a gigantic beast now. So yeah, they just never really grew that great for me, and I found them quite underwhelming. I think it's a plant that you don't need loads of, basically. The next one, the next one's a dragon scale. So it's an alocasia dragon scale. I have a video, which I'll link up in the cards, how I care for it. This particular plant was amazing. I had 3 growth points in one pot. It came from Plant Lovers. It's one of the only ones that came with like no problems, which is really unusual because alocasia are quite susceptible to like spider mites. It loved my flat. My flat wasn't highlight, although we thought it was at the beginning when we bought it. It wasn't a high lit like apartment, and the humidity was high because I was like cranking it up. But it loved it, and it was beautiful. I loved it so much. It was one of my favourite plants. I always posted about it. And then we moved to this cottage, which is stone. The inside temperature really reflects the outside temperature, especially as we're renovating. We've got no floors downstairs, we've got holes in the walls. It's like, you know, it's a very different environment to like a new build flat. And it went into its first dormancy and it never came back, and I was very gutted. But I rebought it a couple of months ago from Grow Tropicals, and it just died within weeks. I think it was sent out a bit wet, and it was obviously during winter, and I just think the shock of that. So yeah, it's put me off. I'm really gutted. I don't think I'll buy it again because I don't think my house can, you know, give it what it wants. So yeah, unless I get a greenhouse, I will not be buying that plant again. The next plant is a really beautiful fern. I believe it was an asparagus fern. Although I saw a picture on someone's YouTube of a foxtail fern, and I thought, oh my goodness, I think that's the plant I had. So I do question what it actually was, but I won't be buying that again. It was stunning. It was really stunning. It was one of my longest living plants, which is really surprising because they're quite finicky. But the needles, they were just everywhere all the time. And I think now having a baby or a toddler, that would bother me if he was like near it where it was on the shelf, and then he had like the needles on his hands, and like that would really stress me out. I'd be like, oh, they'd be sharp on his hands, and it was just a mess. You know, it was just a mess. So yeah, unfortunately I don't think that would be something I'd buy again. I could handle the cleanup of it before, but now no. So the next one is one that has just come on my list. It is a ficus. I haven't had, I had a ficus 3 or 4 years ago. Didn't do great with it. Never had one in between. I don't think I had a ficus in between. Oh no, I was bought one at work from an IKEA, from IKEA. Didn't last long. And yeah, the ficus moonshine that I feel like I splashed out on, it was like a small plant for like £25, is next to me tragically dying. So yeah, I don't think ficus like me, but I like them. So it's a sad story, but a ficus is something I will not be buying again, ever. The next plant is just a really little small one, but it's too slow a grower for me. I like fast growing plants, I've come to realise, and this is extremely slow. So it's a lithop. I bought this plant years ago, and I'm like still like, come on, like nothing has happened. And yeah, I think they're really, really cool, but I just find them really, like, I don't know where to put it. You want it in a position where you can see down, like look down on it, because obviously it's tiny, it's really short, you don't really like, not, it's not much is happening unless you look down into the pot. And I just find placement of it like quite awkward. So I just find that it's just on a shelf and I don't really see it that much, and it's not exciting. Like there's so many more exciting plants in my opinion that grow. So yeah, it's sad, but yeah, I think a lithop would be on my list for never buying again. So the next plant on my list is string of heart, string of pearl, string of turtles, like anything like that. No, never, never again for me. They have such specific care. I know so many people that struggle with these. I've had all of the above. So hearts, although my hearts were like really, really growing well, really happy. Then something happened. I'm not sure what. So yeah, I've had all of them. Like I said, I was doing really well with the hearts. I think I paid £5 for two from Groupon, which was really strange. And they grew so long. They were so beautiful. I think they grew about 6 foot. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, specifically the string of pearl and turtles. I just find them really, really finicky. Again, really difficult to look after. I always panic as well. So if now I'm like in the understanding of pest management, what pests can do, how pests can hide in your plants. The thought of one of these plants having pests is just so stressful, because like at least with like a monstera or something with like larger leaves, you can just really get like the incesticide into like the leaf and just make sure like you've covered it. I wouldn't have the confidence with those. They would just be like, do I just chuck it? Which is not what you should do. So for me, I wouldn't have the string ofs anymore. Another plant I've had a bad experience with and will never buy again. Well, these come together actually. I've had them in different sizes various times. I've tried and tried. However, I am going to say, side note here, after, peperomia. So peperomia, raindrop and peperomia, yeah, the normal one, Peperomioides, something like that. I had a huge one of these. Like it was like a really, really long woody like stem, because it was so mature and it was beautiful. I think I paid £40, which I thought was such a bargain at the time. She had just repotted it for me. She dropped it off and I paid cash. And then I checked it out and it was covered in aphids, and then the roots were like this big, but the plant was like 4 foot. And I was just like, I've just been like conned here. Like she knew what she was doing, and she was just like, no, like I propagate them in like soil and everything, and I'm like totally fine, but that's not how you sold it to me. Anyway, yeah, that was really tragic to see that kind of like die, because at the time I think it's the most expensive plant I ever bought, and that was during COVID, so about 3 years ago, which is crazy. Um, and then equally, Peperomia raindrop. I've come across so many sport variegation versions of the Peperomia raindrop from IKEA, um, and the market where in Leeds, like the Leeds market, but they've all died. Like the Leeds market one was fine. I think I sold that on because I was just kind of like downsizing. Um, the IKEA ones just tragically die, and then when I see the variegated sport peperomia raindrops at IKEA, I leave them now. But yesterday on Facebook, I saw someone say they were like a plant expert, which is what IKEA call them, and apparently IKEA make the staff water every single plant every single day, including cactus, and she said that there's no wonder they just get taken home and die, like all of the plants. And I'm like, oh, like that always happens to me. So I think that's why. Although these two plants I've got really large enjoy, they they're great. They're from IKEA and they're growing really well. But I must have bought them, like I remember IKEA's stocked days. So when they get plants, it was a Wednesday, and I used to go on a Wednesday evening, because I used to live right next to it. So um, yeah, that's probably why those are alive still. But yeah, so the peperomia, I've never really been that into them. I wanted to be because they were beautiful. I always wanted the kind of the space alien looking like plant. Like when I was like really like naive to plants, they were like a wish list plant for me. So the next one, and one of the last ones, is Maranta. So I've not had a lemon lime Maranta. I've had the normal Maranta a couple of times, and also yeah, the variegated version, which was like a huge one. I remember I had a small version of a variegated one, and then Poppy's Potting Shed was selling a large one for like £25. I bought the large one, and then I was selling the small one because I didn't want to repot it. It wouldn't have made a difference. It was huge. So I sold that, and I remember someone being like, "Have you just bought that and then chopped it up and like you're like flipping it?" And I was like, "Really? Like, no." I remember that really annoyed me, that comment. I don't know why, but anyway, I had that really large one for a while. It was in a self-watering pot. I had it here in the house. It was doing really well. Like the leaves were like growing huge. It was whilst I was on maternity. So that being in the self-watering pot was like super important because I didn't do any plant stuff for so long. Like being a new mom was the most overwhelming thing in life. So I was like, I just didn't even come in here. I didn't come in here for like my whole maternity, I think, which was 8 weeks. But yeah, it really survived well. It was doing really well. And then I bought in a plant that had mealybugs, and they went to that like a magnet and they killed it. So it's a bit of a, not like I don't think I can handle it, because I do think I can. And if I if I did see a really really big pot for super cheap, I wouldn't say no. But just seeing how all the mealybugs kind of really attracted to that plant, kind of like people always say that kind of plant, Calathea, they're like pest magnets. Yeah, I just can't. I haven't got the time for that. I just takes so much strength to get rid of like pests. So as much as I loved that and thought it was beautiful, I will not be buying that sort of plant again. So that's it for the video. Lots of very common plants, because I have lots of very common plants. I can't really cast my mind back on anything rare or uncommon that I wouldn't buy again. I can't think of anything. I've looked through my Instagram for kind of inspiration, but nothing comes to mind. All of those ones come to mind like really easily, so they're really high on the list. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a Thai would be there, like a variegated Monstera Thai constellation would be on the list. But it's very driven by my experience of watching the one I have that doesn't have thrips decline. So yeah, I'm sure I've had that before, a small version. So I'm sure once this one sorts itself out and it's happy, I would definitely be open to it. So I shouldn't really say that, but I am going to do the flip of this video. I'm going to do plants that I would buy over and over again, no matter how many I had. So loads of the same plants. Like there are plants that really do kind of hit me with, I could have like a million of them and still be just as happy having so many of them. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye.